Welcome to the Sisterhood of Sweat. I'm here today with Sami Wunder. Sami Wunder is a leading international dating and relationship expert specializing in helping high-achieving women find and keep romantic love. A regular media personality with features in Forbes, Time, Business Insider, Glamour, Vogue, Cosmopolitan, Inc., and the BBC. Sami prides herself on the incredible results her clients achieve through her soulmate attraction and intimacy building processes inside romantic relationships. To date, she's helped over 450 plus of her clients get engaged and hundreds more attract happy, committed relationships with over 90% success rate in marriage, far better than that of the Netflix show Indian Matchmaker. She runs a multi-seven-figure company that serves clients from over 55 countries of the globe, with several influential women, TV stars, models, senior executives, and entrepreneurs as her clients. In her former life, Sami was a master of public policy, graduate, and a trained gold medalist economist from the University of Delhi. She is happily married and a mother of two boys and lives in Germany. Oh, this was so good today. We talked about tapping into your feminine energy when you've been in your masculine through work and career, or like you're just not in touch with that feminine side, and how that attracts your male, how it attracts the mate that you want. We talked about value and how important it is for every woman out there to have her own sense of value that comes from her inside. And we talked about like in the marriage, how to get the intimacy and the connection that you want from your mate, but not in the way that you think. It's so good. That secret is in this episode. Make sure you do not miss it. It is so good. And just what to do if maybe you have a mate that wants to control and dominate and keep you from shining your light, and how we can empower our feminine energy and empower ourselves as females. I absolutely love this episode, and I want to wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day today. And also equally tell you we are having a challenge, the Sweat Society. We are going to have a 7-day workout challenge with prizes starting March 13th through the 17th. So be looking for that, because I will be putting a link soon in the show notes, but I'm just giving you a heads up that it's coming. And it's going to be amazing, and it's going to be free. So you get to work out with me no matter what country you live in and however long you've been listening to this show. So it's going to be a fun time. I'll have a special workout event on Facebook Live to kick it all off. So let me know if you're in. Say, I'm in, Linda, I'm in. And please leave a review. It's so important for the Sisterhood of Sweat to get recognized, to be able to attract more great guests. The reviews really help to get our show noticed and get more listeners. Thanks again, everyone. I'm excited to welcome Sami Wunder to the Sisterhood of Sweat today. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Linda.
So we were just talking about, you're in Germany, the place we want to visit. We've been scouring over trips that we want to take, and I'm a fan of, I want to do Germany, Italy, and Switzerland, but he wants to just go to Germany and soak it up first.
Well, you have to give me a shout when you guys are here.
So what would you say we shouldn't miss?
I mean, Europe is fascinating. It's diverse, and I think it depends a lot on what you love. Whether you love the sea or you love currywurst, bratwurst, which is these famous German sausages that they eat, on the streets, or you love the mountains and in
Oh, I
Switzerland
love the
and
mountains.
Austria. So I think it depends on what is your flavor of fun because it's got a lot to offer. So I live in Germany. My husband is German. I come from India. And we make trips to Italy. I love Greece. I love the ocean. I love the blue, the sun. So, yeah, I think it's hard for me to say which one is not to miss because I think they all offer something very rich and different, all these countries.
Great answer. No wonder I'm having you on my podcast today. I was watching a video, so I kind of want to start our Valentine's Day episode talking about when you didn't know what the disconnect was in your life and you were searching for love, but you weren't winding up with it, and what the disconnect was and how you changed it.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think the answers to that is, I think at the first level, I saw that, I was a lot in my masculine energy. So I've always been like a very hardworking, ambitious, forward-moving woman. And that is amazing. But I took the same energy to men and I took the same energy to dating. And then I would get obsessive and pursue them and stalk them and, initiate communication. It's almost like I used to like chase men and pick them up when I liked them. And I never understood why that turned off the men I liked. It didn't turn off the men I didn't care about. They still came, but the men I liked, they were turned off by it. And that is because the kind of man that I liked was ambitious, was a giver, and he needed some form of polarity. He needed the presence of an opposite energy so that he could feel the sexual attraction and tension. And that opposite energy is feminine energy. Now, of course, these are not sexist terms because both men and women have both energies. So today I'm running a very successful love coaching company that is serving women across 86 countries of the world. And I cannot say that I'm just running it by being in my feminine. So I am using my masculine to run it and to, hold it together and serve our clients. But at the same time, when I take this energy to my husband, while he has respect for it, he doesn't feel desire with it. If you know what I mean, there is a difference there, right? So when we are leading with our masculine in our love lives, men can be proud of us, men can respect us, but that, that hot, passionate relationship that we crave in the depths of our hearts, that relationship is struck through polarity, through the presence of polar opposite energies. So one of the first things I learned when I was struggling in dating was, how can I embrace my feminine side more? And again, this is not about, women being more feminine or men being more masculine. This is about understanding you get to have it all and you get to use both your energies to succeed in both departments. You get to succeed at work and you get to succeed in love. So I think that was one major shift that I made, which was tuning into and embodying my feminine more in dating, letting men pursue me, letting men court me, having an open heart, being more relaxed, being able to receive from men without trying to show, no, 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 I got it all, I can do it all, which I can. In all honesty, I can do it all. But it's still lovely to have learned to let a man feel needed, to let a man feel like he has a place in your life and there is something he too can contribute despite your strength and despite your independence. Now, I think the second major shift was in terms of loving myself more deeply, because I think we think that love is this thing that we will find in somebody else and through somebody else. And what I tell my clients today is that a man or any kind of, any partner is just a cherry on the cake, and you're the cake, and you must learn how to value that cake, and you must deepen the relationship of worthiness with yourself. Because we often wonder, why is it that men, I used to be so jealous of these ladies in my mastermind cohort in my university when I was doing in my master's cohort, who were, who had men chasing after them and running after them. And I was like, she's not even that good looking, and she's not even that smart. And like, why is it
It's been
that
happening to me.
yeah, why
As
is
you were
it that
thinking.
I, who, I worked so hard to be where I am, why is it that men don't treat me the way they treat her? And the answer to that puzzle is very simple. It's because she treated herself like she was a Rolex. She knew her worth, and she showed up embodying that worth. And when you show up in the world like you're a Rolex, people value you, men value you. So it's almost like the level at which you value yourself, men are mirroring back that respect or that lack of respect for you. And so I had to learn that it wasn't about going out there and working hard for a man's love, but it was about learning how to value myself more deeply and more authentically, and to be able to bring that to my dating interactions with men. So while there were multiple changes that I made in my dating phase when I had my major heartbreak, and I decided, literally from one day to the next, the pain that I'm going through, I cannot keep going through this pain. Like, I need to do something about it. I need to figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
So I made multiple changes, but I think these two would be the core pillars of the shifts that happened.
So we were talking about tapping into your feminine energy, and I train many women in the gym, and we work on the whole package. And they sometimes, because they are successful businesswomen, struggle in the area of control. They want to control how things are happening, and I see that as a method of protecting themselves in a way. They want to, take charge, so to speak, because they're used to doing it in business. And you're striking on a lot of chords. And so I'm hoping that you kind of bring this out even in a more clear way today. When they are, in this controlling manner, how can they really visually kind of get an idea of what it would look like to be in their feminine energy? What are some ways that women can make that shift into their feminine? If you're in your masculine all the time, you may not even recognize what your feminine is.
Absolutely. And if I may say so myself, I run a multi-7-figure company now, and we do such a great job at helping our clients do exactly what you said, which is lean into their feminine and embrace their feminine. And what is so unique about my methodology is that it's very specific. So I totally hear you when you say, these are nice terms to use, feminine and, masculine. But for a woman who is in her masculine a lot of the times, she doesn't even know what that looks like in real life. So this is where we bridge that gap. So let me give you some examples of what that would look like. So if you're a single woman, it would look like what we would say leaning back in dating, which means that you have this warm, approachable energy, like you're relaxed and you're safe to approach. You have a smile on your face. Like the men who are observing you will not feel like, oh my God, if I walk up to her, I'll get rejected, or she'll get angry, and it'll be an odd situation. But they feel like it's safe to approach her because she's so relaxed and she's so warm and she's so approachable. So already that's the first step, because you're not making the pursuit, they are coming to you, and you're the one in your feminine, you're receiving that pursuit, you're receiving that attention. Now, at the second level, this can look like, letting a man plan dates and suggest dates and literally court you like in the olden days. Sometimes when I'm on TV or, on radio, they'll challenge me. They're like, Sami, you're taking us back, into the 60s. And that's not true. I think it's not about being in the 60s or even being in the 30s. I think it's about understanding what works for us women. You see, when we look at feminism, it's made us so strong in the workplace. But when we go home, we're doing it all at the workplace, and then we're doing it all at home, and we're tired as hell. And we need to understand that our relationships and our men and our partners get to be the people who nurture us, where we can give up a little bit of that control and they can do a little bit of that driving and riding, so that we can relax and give up, being in control in the car seat, and be the co-pilot, not the pilot. Give the responsibility to somebody else. And so it would just look like, letting the guy plan the dates, letting him take you out. If he wants to pay, just being able to say, thank you, I'd love that, that's so kind, that's so generous, and not coming up with, no, I can pay for myself. Just letting your relationship be that place where you get poured into, and not making that feel like there is something wrong with you or weak with you if you allow that to happen. So letting your relationship, your romantic partnership, be that place that nurtures you and nourishes you. Some more examples of single ladies being in their feminine would look like not fixing and solving a man's problems. So we've all had that experience with a girlfriend where we're having a challenge and we just want to be heard. But the minute we share and open up, she'll fix us. She's like, you should do that. You should do that. And sometimes it can feel really jarring because you feel really vulnerable when you're opening up that way. And all that you need in that moment is somebody to listen and say, it's going to be okay. You're going to be all right. You're not stupid. You're not incompetent. You're just having a hard moment or a hard day, and you'll be fine. That's exactly the experience men want to have with us. When they open up to us, when they share they're having issues or challenges or stress at work, instead of going into fix mode, have you thought about this solution? Have you thought about talking to this person? And I'm not saying I'm perfect, like as a CEO and as a mom of 2 small kids, there are moments when even I slip into that fix it mode. And, I'm like, just my husband will say something and I'll come up with a solution because I'm still in the boss babe mode versus wife mode and woman mode. But I think just having this awareness is literally the reason why my marriage is so beautiful, because you don't have to get it like 100% right. But if you just have self-awareness and you get this right, like 60 to 70% of the times, because we're all human beings, and this is not about perfection, because perfection is, again, masculine. Like it's like it has to be right 100% of the times. That's not necessary. I think this work is more soft. It's about more vulnerability, and it's about more self-awareness, right? So this is what this is. Now, if you are in a relationship and you're struggling with being in your masculine, that could look like being very hyper-focused on your partner and being very critical of him, trying to micromanage his movements, his behaviors. Why do you do it this way? Why don't you do it that way? And so in my work, I call this mothering energy. And mothering energy is where, instead of being his dream girl, the one he wants to make passionate love to, you start being the woman in his life that starts to remind him of his mother, because you're nagging, you're correcting, you're critical. And it's almost like
Wow, that's eye-opening.
when these behaviors pile up on top of each other, this is where a man will start to take silent distance from you, and you would not be able to understand why is it that he's not just coming from the back and giving my butt a slap, or he's not like leaning over and just kissing me passionately in the kitchen. And that's because in my programs I talk about this, Linda. That's because I call them the slow poison. So like every little nag and every little correction and every little criticism is like, immediately it won't break your marriage or immediately it won't break your relationship, but over time these behaviors, they will start negatively impacting the passion, the intimacy, the attraction, and he will start seeing you more as mom than dream girl.
Not
And
what you want.
yeah, and this is where feminine energy leaning back looks like, I think at a very fundamental level, looks like accepting our men for who they are and rejecting the things we know we just cannot deal with. So that's boundaries. It's like, hey, if you watch porn or if you talk to your ex or you flirt openly with another woman in front of me, that's not cool. So boundaries and rejection of certain behaviors. Otherwise, those little things that we feel like we have to nag about or be critical about, I think that's where we have to ask ourselves, is it really a big deal? And can I accept this about my man? Like, he is just going to be slow at taking out the garbage, and he will do it, but he'll probably not see it the moment it's full. He'll do it in 2 days, right? So I say either accept something or reject something. And rejection looks like drawing a boundary and saying, this just doesn't work for me. What do we do about this? Right? But do not be in the zone of tolerating, because tolerating is again that slow poison where you silently tolerate and you try to change him and then you try to control and you resent him and he resents you, and it all sort of builds up on each other to reduce the intimacy, to reduce the spark, to reduce the fun and the passion.
So, what about married couples that have been together for a while and the woman begins to feel that there's no intimacy, that there's no emotional connection, and she doesn't really understand how they got there? What can she do to begin to take steps to, instead of nag, because I think a lot of women will be in that category of, you don't pay attention to me, you never talk to me, we never connect, and then that just makes it, I think, worse instead of better. So give me some tips for that woman.
Totally. And I totally 100% agree with you that a woman's first resort when she experiences that kind of falling of passion and lack of attention and affection is to talk about it. And I just invite my clients to notice if what they're doing is working for them.
Ooh, yeah.
The
Yeah.
answer is no, it's not. And then the question is, then why do you keep doing it?
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
So I think the first shift is in the recognition of what's not working and to stop doing that. And once you are able to make that self-awareness, wow, the ways I've been doing this is not working for me, it's not giving me the results I want, then you have the inspiration to actually try something else, to try something new. So I have this little mini course on my website. It's called Reignite His Love for You. And it's just like this 90-minute masterclass where I say, number one, the process is stop over giving in your relationship. So literally take your focus off him, stop asking him for time, affection, love, sex, and take it back on you and ask yourself, where in this relationship have I become more a caretaker versus a sensual, happy, fulfilled, nourished, sexy wife? And usually we have stepped into that caretaking role, that mothering role, right? Like We are busy being very responsible. We look after our children. We look after our home. We look after work. And we feel responsible for everything. And when you are overgiving and overdoing and overfunctioning in this way, it is very difficult to connect with that part within yourself that is sexy, that wants to make love, that looks after how she looks and smelling good and looking good and being soft and being sensual and enjoying those things. And none of this is your fault. Like, I really want to ensure that the woman who's listening to this right now is not judging herself, because I think we have grown up in a generation where, it was modeled to us that, what being a good person looks like, and being a good person looks like, caring for everybody and being there for everybody. And I think we're just trying to be good people. We're just trying to be good mothers. We're trying to be, good homemakers. But a lot of us are abandoning in that process the woman within us. And we somehow look at our men to like see that woman within us and to acknowledge that woman within us when we're asking for that attention, that intimacy, that sex. And that's why I say, don't make the man the focus at all, and work with us to make yourself the focus, to bring back your own connection with the woman within you, and ask her what would turn her on, and ask her what would make her happy, and ask her what would make her come alive. And tapping into more of that aliveness within you. It is amazing that when you stop all the overgiving and all the overfunctioning, and then you can finally breathe, and then you can reconnect with that woman with the red lipstick on or the pink lipstick on and her curls and her perfume. So many times the turnaround of the man will happen without her trying to get something from him, because when you focus on yourself, you naturally stop controlling him, or at least your nagging and mothering and controlling of him just naturally reduces, because so much of your energy, your thoughts are focused on you and nurturing yourself and doing your yoga and doing your meditation and doing your, looking after yourself. And then I think at a second level, what is really needed before the attention and the sex and the physical passion revive, I think what is needed is emotional connection. Now, a lot of the times when clients come to us, they think the issue with a dip in desire and sexual intimacy is, I'm not beautiful enough, or maybe I've gained weight and so he doesn't like my body, or maybe I just need to buy more lingerie and be more sexy for him. But that rarely solves the problem, because if just wearing sexy lingerie could save our marriages, I don't think celebrities would have issues with how gorgeous they look and how much they can afford to spend on themselves. And so I think there's something deeper there that we need to tap into, which is vulnerability and emotional intimacy. And of course, these are big topics, and I have entire courses that teach us every single topic, because these topics are worlds in themselves. But to give you an example, emotional intimacy, like what does it look like? It looks like being able to be brave and share with your man that you miss his touch, but you don't blame him and you don't have any expectations from him, but you just touch his hand and you just let him know that you miss his touch. Now, most of us find it hard to be detached from the outcome. So when we hold his hand and we say that, we put the pressure to meet our need immediately, and we're like, can we just therefore, can we have sex? But if you could just detach yourself from the outcome and instead focus on building that emotional connection with your partner first, this is where the chances of the revival of that sexual fire and desire is so much higher than if you would just sort of go in there with an outcome in mind, which also turns men off. It also puts pressure on them. It puts pressure on the relationship. And so sometimes when the relationship is not at the level of health we would like it to be, I think one of the best things we can do is stop putting the pressure of all these needs on our partner and bring the focus back on ourselves and see how we can be more nourished and fulfilled. And when we show up as that person in the relationship, of course, there's going to be a lot more tools and work to be done around communication, work to be done around, how do you express your needs? How do you express your desires? How do you bring the flirt and the play back? But these are all like big topics, but I think what we're talking here is like really just stopping the over functioning, bringing the focus back on yourself and paying more attention to building that emotional connection, that conversation, that softness, that taking away the edge, taking away the sarcasm, taking away all those little things that add to the negative vibe in the relationship, and becoming really protective about seeing your relationship as this really precious thing that deserves your kindness and your softness and your love more than, those irritations and sarcasms that we express when we're annoyed at our partners.
So good. I feel like a lot of people are going to get so much good out of this episode today. It's to hear the truth in an authentic way is very healing, and it helps us to reconnect with parts of ourselves that we may have long forgotten. It might be buried under tons of work, tons of dishes, lots of responsibility, and you've forgotten how to reconnect with the feminine side. Another thing that I notice with women that, come to me, many times when they're out there in the dating world, or even I think married women can go through this too, but they lose their sense of value, and maybe they were looking for that validation from their partner, and they never truly had their own sense of value. But how important do you think it is for women all on their own to have a sense of value, and what are ways they can go about developing that?
Yes, I think it's really critically important, not just to know your worth, but also to have some kind of self-care, self-love practice or ritual that helps you anchor into that worth on a daily basis, because it's so easy to forget. It's so easy to abandon yourself in caretaking others. Sometimes it's so easy to abandon yourself because other people are projecting on you and they think you're a certain kind of person, and then that makes you forget who you are, and then you start becoming a version of who they think you are or they tell you you are. And sometimes that version is hurtful. So for example, in our business, in our company, we run Facebook ads, and every time we have a new campaign and we launch our ads, I'll get these nasty comments about "fix your teeth, woman." And if you are as successful as you are, why don't you fix your teeth? And in the beginning, I just didn't care. And I was like, you know what? I love myself. Bye, guys. And then it just kept happening and happening and happening and happening. And then one day, I think I was just sensitive and, PMS. And I saw a comment and I just broke down into tears. And I told my husband, am I so ugly? Do I not look pretty enough? And he's like, oh, darling, don't let them get to you. And you know what? If you want to fix your teeth, you can fix them. But, I still love you and they're fine for me. And you get to decide, what you do with your body or not. But I think this is just an example of how like people will project their stuff on us, whether it's at work, whether even sometimes even in our relationship, our partner will project their stuff on us and try to tell us who we are and how they experience us. And if it's good, great, but sometimes it can be hurtful. And so I think your self-worth practice is really that sacred thing that you come back to connect with yourself, to connect with your heart, and to remind yourself of, how amazing you are, how you are lovely, beautiful, attractive, good enough, how there is not just this one man in your life who likes you, but the truth is, if you stepped out, there'll be many, many men who will validate you and like you. And that's a good thing. It's a thing you get to enjoy, and it's a thing you get to celebrate. I think so many times, especially married women and women in relationships, we will shut down our light because we don't want attention now that we're married or we're in a relationship. But I actually tell my clients that don't be afraid of your light. It will attract people, but then you can trust yourself and you can trust your boundaries. But you get to still live as this bright, magical creature who gets to express herself and, play with life. And I call it flirting with the world. You don't just flirt with men, you flirt with children, you flirt with puppies, you flirt with the trees, you flirt with the flowers, and you maintain that sense of aliveness within you, even as a married woman. I think it's so important, especially for married women, because I think once you're in these long-term relationships, you can kill these parts within yourself. You can judge yourself. You can say it's a bad thing to be open. It's a bad thing to shine my light. And this is where we calm down our clients and we say, you are a good person. You have your boundaries. Nobody can overstep those boundaries unless you don't want them to overstep those boundaries. And in the safety of that structure, can you just give yourself permission to shine your light? So I think shining our light, whatever that looks like, it's not just about our appearance. It could also be about, maintaining our friendships, not taking our friendships for granted when we are married or in a relationship. It could also look like maintaining our hobbies and our passions, coming to your workout studio, coming to, going to do the yoga, going to do your master classes, with Sami Wunder, whatever, like whatever that form of self-nurturing and self-love is. I think it's a huge sacred corner that every woman should have for herself. And if it's missing, I think we should take baby steps towards developing it. So something as small as, I do my little prayer 10 minutes in the morning, and that just really helps me anchor into positive energy and, think of all the good things that I'm grateful for. I journal, because I think especially as leaders and successful, smart, professional women, I think there's so much we carry. And we must not forget that this woman needs that nurturing and she needs that validation. And the funny thing is that the more you can validate yourself, the less you need that validation from your partner or the man you're dating. Because it's almost like you are the source of that love you are seeking.
Now, what about when a woman does know what like lights are up and she's with a partner that doesn't feel comfortable with her shining her feminine energy, her light, because it does attract people, and then they try to squelch that or control that. I think there's like a fine line between being submitting one to another, like a husband and a wife. You should care about what the other one thinks. You should have some going back and forth with like submitted one to another. But what about when it's in that energy of the woman wants to please her man, the man is asking something unrealistic of the woman, let's say, because they could get in their masculine and could be very dominant and very controlling. What does the woman do in this case? Does she submit? Does she resist? What's your advice?
I think I am an expert at healthy relationships. And just like I would tell my female client, I do not want you to control your man. It's not healthy of you to do that. He's a free person, he's a sovereign. I would say the same rule applies to men. They don't get to control us, they don't get to control the sovereign part of us. You see, as you beautifully just said, Linda, there is a certain line, a fine balance between respecting our partner's feelings and being controlled by them and allowing them to control us. And in a lot of, like, I come from India, and I think a lot of marriages and relationships are like that in my country. I also know that a lot of my Asian clients, or my clients from, Qatar, or, Dubai, they would tell me that their men make a lot of money and then they want to control their wives. And I think control is unhealthy. And I think there is a very fine line from between control and toxicity. And if you do not draw boundaries with control, it can very quickly spin into the zone of being a toxic relationship, because once you let him control this, then there's going to be a next set of requirements. And you're not a puppy in dog training. You're a wife, you're a queen. And I think that's where boundaries are really important. And this is where I think women need to be empowered, because a lot of the times when women look at my work and they say feminine energy, she wants us to be meek and submissive to men. I think that's such a false understanding of healthy feminine, because healthy feminine surrenders, but she surrenders to a man who is committed to her welfare as well. And the minute a man is not committed to your welfare and it's all about him, this is not a healthy interaction anymore. And this is where it's so important to stand up for yourself and to draw your boundaries. And so I think this is where more women need to feel empowered and say no to being controlled.
That was really good. I really love what you said about surrendering to a man that is connected to your welfare as well. And I think you put that so well, because I do think that it's an ebb and flow, and it's a constant thing with men and women, because we are polar opposites. And so maybe if you're really in your feminine and he's really in his masculine, then he wants to dominate and control, or he's doing it at work, so then he's doing it to you and not respecting you as an entity and a person on your own right.
Yes, and that is so important to draw boundaries in those situations. I also think that with very empowered masculine men, you have to learn how to set limits with them. Otherwise, they'll take you for a ride. And so my whole work is on this definition of femininity, where I say it's about being soft on the outside and strong on the inside, which means vulnerable, approachable, happy to be courted, happy to receive. And strong on the inside means solid boundaries and ability to draw limits and say no. Because otherwise you will feel like, you have no voice in this relationship, or he's just like
you just said the magic words. No voice in the relationship.
And that's not an empowered feminine woman. That's a woman who's
Wow,
caged.
so good.
Yeah.
So good. Now, back to the value item again. Just thinking of women that are out in the dating world, and maybe they think sex is a way of receiving love. Can you dispel that myth in a way? Because I think that I can see it so clear that they're not feeling their value, and they don't feel any more valuable after sleeping with somebody the first night.
Oh my God. Yes. So I don't even think this is traditional. I think it's actually giving yourself away for such little commitment is really devaluing yourself. So when on date 1, date 2, date 3, date 4, you sleep with a man, you are handing over your body, and your body is your sacred temple. And that sacred temple could contract STDs, could get pregnant. Like, there's so much, there are studies that have shown that the number of men that you've slept with, your womb has a memory, it remembers. Like, if you believe in energy, our womb remembers, because sex is a very, very intimate act. And so many times I think it's not a woman's fault if she's showing up like this in dating, because I think we are living in a very confused society where there is so much about women's liberation that is about, I could sleep with whoever I want. Why is it different for men and women? But I think this is not about this is not about your ability to sleep with as
Right,
many
right, right. Of
men,
course.
right?
I'm
Of
not
course, we have
questioning
that
that
ability.
ability. Yeah.
Yeah. It's about like, do I really gain from this?
Yes, that's it right there.
Do I gain from this? Do
What are you
I
getting out of it, really?
what am I getting out of this? Like, do I get commitment from it? No, not at all. I don't think there is any evidence that sex leads to commitment. Do I get respect, honor, recognition, girlfriend status, wife status? Like, what am I gaining from this? I'm gaining nothing from this. And so it's basically like this instant gratification lifestyle. Like, you're just giving into the emotion of the moment without really asking yourself, what is my goal here? Because if my goal here is to have a family, is to have a great guy in my life who treats me well, respects me, loves me, is loyal to me, then that kind of connection takes time. And when you meet that kind of man, he's more than happy to honor and respect your pace with intimacy. Because I remember my husband, he said to me, he was always happy to respect that I took a lot of time before I slept with him. And he said to me that, I thought you were worth the wait. And I actually really liked it that, you just didn't give it so easy. Like, it made me work for you. It made me respect you. It made me honor you. And so I
Because
think,
you were honoring yourself.
exactly. And I was honoring my body. And this is not a ploy to get a man to commit. This is not a ploy to get a ring. It is really about authentically honoring yourself. Like, for me, I know, like, I mean, scientifically, it's proven that when you orgasm with a man, you release oxytocin. And oxytocin is such a powerful bonding hormone. It's also the hormone that starts your contractions. It's the hormone that starts milk in your breast. So, like, imagine these biochemical messengers, they're so powerful. And then when you sleep with a guy, you bond. He doesn't. You bond, he doesn't. He can play sex like a sport. You can't. You bond. And so you're literally like putting yourself in this vulnerable situation without any commitment, without any, promise of what this is going to look like or mean for you both in the long run. And so I think true women's empowerment is taking your time. True women's empowerment is knowing that I'm not giving my most precious body to somebody who has not won my trust, to somebody who has no plan for me, to somebody who has no respect for what he's getting and no value for what he's getting. And so I think that is true women's empowerment in love, and not like, how many men can I sleep with and why can't I sleep with all the men I want to sleep with? Because I don't think that is true empowerment for you in the long run.
Right, right. I mean, I think some women do play it like a sport too. But I think in the long run, nobody really is the winner there. And I like what you said about true female empowerment.
Yeah. I mean, I've had the experience that a lot of the times my clients will tell me that they don't get attached till they get attached, till the guy doesn't call the next day. And it is only then that
Oh,
they,
I know you're so right about that. And then they want to know, why isn't he calling? Or maybe you slept with them and they don't want to take you out now. They just want to come over, have you cook and be their
watch
playmate
Netflix and have sex.
because
Yes.
they learned that they didn't have to do anything. So why do it, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if we just like bring the focus back on honoring ourselves and being the Rolex, just being the Rolex, being that expensive watch, that watch brand that a man has to work for, a man has to earn. And I think if you just emanate that Rolex energy, it will solve more than half of the challenges that women face in modern day dating.
Love that. This has been so, so good today. Uh, one last question. What would you say is something a lady can do to put some sizzle into the relationship for Valentine's Day?
Ooh. Okay, so I don't know if you're gonna love my answer, but I'm gonna give it anyway. I think the man should be worried about putting sizzle in the relationship for her because
Ooh,
remember, she's the Rolex, and he should feel really lucky to have her in his life and do something really special for the lady in his life.
that's beautiful. You're beautiful. I've really, really loved this. This was so rich today.
Oh, thank
I
you.
feel you gave such good advice for every woman out there. How can they get in touch with your programs if they want to be coached by you or find you online on social media?
Yes, thank you for asking that, Linda. So you can just Google my name, Sami Wunder, SamiWunder. So I'm at samiwunder.com, and there you can find all my self-study courses. And if you want to work with me, then I have a group coaching program called Elevate Next Level Love. And inside that, we help single women find healthy love and create their dream relationships. And then we also run a cohort for married women and women in relationships for them to spice up their marriages and their relationships and take it to the next level. So that's my website. And of course, you can also find me on Instagram at the rate Sami Wunder Coach.
And I have to say, I acknowledge you too, because you came from India, where it could be more on the lines of women feeling a little bit, disempowered and men being, more controlling, at least in the past. And you have certainly come a long way and broke free of all that limited thinking.
Absolutely. I think it was one of my most, I think growing up in a country like India, you see the pain of the women, you see the plight of the women, you see how they don't have a voice, you see how controlled they can be. I mean, not every woman, let's not make a
No, of
generalization.
course not.
But let's
Yeah.
say that that is more or less the norm. It is a patriarchal society till today. And I think that inspired me to not live that way. And I came to Germany on a full master's scholarship from the German government. So I was always like the bookworm, learning hard, studying hard, so I could break free. Education was my way of feeling empowered. And then I married a German man, which was like unheard of. But I'm very grateful to my parents because I think we were two girls, me and my sister, and my parents, they never stopped us. Like there was no choice that was not accessible. And I think that is so critical a foundation to have because there could be many brave Samis, intelligent Samis in India, but if their parents are not giving them the choices that my parents gave me, they said, yes, go to Germany. They said, yes, go to America. Go do your thing. We believe in you. Then you never know how many of these amazing women are being stifled. So I do feel lucky that I had a family that supported my empowerment and didn't stifle me.
I think it's important for all women to have some support and someone that cheers them on.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Sami. This was so lovely today, and I really appreciate everything you had to say. And thanks everyone for listening to this episode of the Sisterhood of Sweat. Let us know what resonated and what you liked, and if you have any questions for Sami. Bye, everyone.